Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us to explore the Belong Social Value Estimator through the lens of a brilliant community celebration, Crook Winter Light Parade, delivered by Jack Drum Arts. Across our network, organisations are doing transformative work in their communities. But when it comes to demonstrating value for money, whether that's for internal planning, making the case for funding, or evaluating what you've achieved, many of our members say they need more practical support. That's why we created this free estimator with State of Life. It's designed to help you translate community participation into estimated wellbeing values based on Treasury guidance. So let me first hand over to Jack Ward-Burton, Artistic Director and Sustainability Officer at Jack Drum Arts, to introduce Crook Winter Light Parade and why they wanted to assess its social value.
Thanks, Alex. For those who don't know us, Jack Drum Arts is a community arts organisation based in Crook, a small market town in rural County Durham. Our approach centres on community collaboration, empowering individuals, supporting positive mental health and improved well-being using arts and cultural activities as the tool. Crook Winter Light Parade has become our flagship event, an annual celebration that genuinely transforms Crook for an evening. Our streets are filled with illuminated puppets that local people have made themselves, live music, street theatre, samba bands, community performers, and so much more, all building to this magical parade that brings together thousands of residents in our local community. What makes it special isn't just the night itself, it's the months of creative work leading up to it, and the shared ownership that the participants and audiences feel alike. We run workshops in schools, family lantern making sessions in local community spaces, and collaborate with local groups to bring performative elements into the parade. We rehearse with dancers and musicians, and by the time parade night arrives, hundreds of people have been part of creating it. Then thousands of people from the local community come out as audience members and watch their peers and celebrate their creativity. Now, we know this event really matters to Crook. We're not a rich part of the country, and we're facing funding challenges. We understand that we need some way to communicate our impacts and value for money in a way that funders understand. That's why we were keen to work with Alan to develop the tool. So I'll hand over to him now to talk you through the numbers.
Okay, thanks, Jack. I'm just sharing my screen so that we can have a little look at the report. So I'm going to walk through briefly the report that's produced automatically from the estimator. And there is a summary at the top, which gives you a sense of what the estimates are for Crook Winter Light Parade. And we estimated that the parade generates a gross social value of just over 150,000. We're uncertain what proportion of these benefits are genuinely attributable to the parade itself and might not have happened anyway. But with project costs of just over 38,000, we estimated that only 25% of those benefits would need to be additional before we cover the project costs and break even, as we call it. We're fairly confident that 25% is quite a low threshold for the proportion of benefits that would need to be additional. And so this is a really good value program. Okay. We'll come back to that interpretation, but before we do, if we just scroll down the report a little bit, you can see we also have the estimated costs and benefits there. We've got our key metrics, but we come on to the activity breakdown, and this shows us how we built up that estimate of value with Jack. There's two things that we need. The first are the inputs from the project itself. So these came from Jack, and it's the data that we have on the number of participants in each of the different types of activities that were linked with the parade. And it's the duration of those activities in hours. What we also need is some secondary evidence on what we think the value of those different types of activities are going to be. So if we take an example, let's say the family lantern making. So the figures that Jack Drum Arts have suggest that there were 49 participants in the lantern making, and the duration was 4 hours in the run-up to the event and then 2 hours on the night. We then need to know what our proxy value is for the kind of extra well-being that people gain from the lantern making. And this comes from the London School of Economics, who did research on what the willingness to pay for the enjoyment of hobbies, arts and crafts is. So that's our proxy for lantern making. And we had other proxies that we used and can select from a drop-down in the estimator for different types of activities. So some of this is around singing and performing or participating in concerts. So that helps us to cover different values, both for the participants who put on the event with the help of Jack Drum Arts, and also for the audience, which you can see here, the 3,000 people that turned up on the night, and also for volunteers as well. And we have a proxy value for volunteers, which comes from the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, and that was published earlier this year. So we're using all of these estimates to then build up a sense of what the total value of the program is. So if we scroll back up, that gets us to our 150,000. Now, the tricky question here is what would have happened anyway? So, for example, it's possible that some people that took part in the activities, the arts and crafts and performing, they may have done some other similar types of activities if they were not part of the parade. And we don't know what that proportion is. So that's why we've gone down this route of saying, okay, that's uncertain, but we can estimate what the break-even point would be. And 25% is not particularly high. We've got good proxies from evidence that's been published elsewhere, for example, by the Homes and Communities Agency, that suggests that a kind of average break-even might be around 60%. And in an area like Crook, which, you know, where there isn't events every week, because there might be in a large city, we think the additionality could be higher than that. So it's much more than possible that we're going to kind of exceed that break-even point. So in short, we think the parade is really good value, and the report like this is produced directly from the app. It also has a technical annex, so we've got really chapter and verse on all of the different assumptions and data and the limitations around that have gone into the report. So I'll stop sharing my screen and hand back to Jack to talk about really reflections on how you could use this kind of analysis.
Thanks, Alan. It's really timely for us, you getting in touch and offering us the chance to be a pilot for this estimator. The reality is that funding the parade each year is challenging. We've always had amazing testimonials about the work Jack Drum does, including for the parade. And we've always put time into collecting good data on participation. But what this tool gives us is the ability to use that data to estimate the social value of the project itself. That combination, both the stories and the economic evidence, is what funders are looking for. We can definitely see the potential in this tool for the other things we do beyond Crook Winter Light Parade across our organization.
Thanks, Jack. That's great to hear. And I know that you've helped us a lot in early user testing so that we can get this right. And we're hugely grateful to you for that. We're also hugely grateful to Spirit of 2012 for funding through their endowment from the National Lottery Community Fund, and to Alan and State of Life for developing this tool for us. The estimator is available for free for everyone through Belong Network's website. We encourage all of our members to explore it, whether you're planning a new project, preparing a funding bid, or evaluating something that you've already delivered. Thank you so much to Jack Drum Arts for sharing their experience with us today, and thank you all for joining us.